question was if Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, and Count Itachi from Oran High School would be, what would happen?
I think Ed would wonder why that boy was wearing such prissy clothing. Those are two totally different time periods. And Count is a little frilly indeed. That answer would be no.
No, because this is my to become student.
We've had to cover for each other on lines and reactions, and if Greg does something, if Greg has to come in and pick up just a small line or two of mine, they'll pitch him down, and I've gone in and done something that sounded kind of like Greg, and they just pitched it up, like, for reactions and stuff. Yeah, Jen used to do that a lot.
We were recording an episode of Tsubasa, and there was a scene where Phi is making fun of Kurogane, and he's mimicking him. And so Colleen was like, okay, do your best Chris Sabat. And I did this line, and she goes, okay, not that much like Chris Sabat. And I was really trying to do it. I was like, and she's like, no, that sounds too much like it. It's got to be like Phi trying to sound like Kurogane. But we have fun with that sometimes in the studio.
Yeah, well, I would say we each probably have a voice actor that we can do an impersonation of, but it might not be any of us. Like, if I can do anybody, it's Wendy Powell's voice. It kind of sounds right today, but like I did something. They recorded me at Funimation. I think Bevins recorded me going, "Oh my God," and they played it back where she goes, "Well, that's just great. Now they're going to give Greg Ayers all my parts." But the best quote about Wendy Powell's voice came from Chris Sabat. He said that Wendy Powell is the only woman that men lower their voice to impersonate. She's got a bassy voice.
No, that was one of the fun things on Wallflower, when all the guys in the show had to impersonate each other. Somebody else got
This is for all of y'all. Was there like a part when you had to do voice acting that you did not want to do at all?
I like to work.
I would say we want to do every part, but whether or not we're physically capable of doing every part is a different story.
Yeah, like I wished I could have opted out of Negima a few times. Like that was really tough, and there were times when I was like, I'm not the right guy for this. But you push on, but
Yeah,
I don't
just
think
like
I would not wanted to work.
Yeah, like with Dragon Ball Z, that's really hard on the throat. And you would love to be able to have this titanium larynx that nothing could bother, but you just after a while you can only do so much. So not that you don't want to do a voice, it's that you can't sometimes. How many of you guys have seen Full Metal Panic? Well, when we got to the second season, which of course is very different than the first season, it just gets wacky and crazy. And I remember Don, the director, calling me and saying, "You know what, dude? There's Kurtz only shows up at the end of this season in the Hot Springs episode, which is really." But that's the only place he shows up, and he's like, so I'm going to find some other little cameo things for you to do in the series. And so he called me one day and he said, okay, you're going to play this character named Pony Man. And all he says is pony. I mean, he carries on entire conversations, but he only uses the word pony. So it was so much fun to do. And every once in a while at a convention, I'll see somebody walking around with a pony head, with a horse head on, and I get all, giddy and fanboyish because they're cosplaying pony men.
Pony! Pony, pony!
Yes, question?
Oh, just give me a thumbs up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just saw the end. Right behind you with that, in the red.
Question for Johnny, Caitlin, and Dick. What are your favorite lines from Trigun and Full Metal? If you remember any or have a line from Trigun or even Full Metal.
Favorite line from Full Metal? I don't know if I have a favorite line, really. I always say this. I hate this line now. This world is made of love and pizza.
That's really hard. Because Full Metal, the first one, 51 episodes, of which Winry's in like half. But still, it's a lot, and we recorded it 5 years ago. And now the new Full Metal, we're in the midst of it. But we only do the line 2 or 3 times, hopefully, before moving on. My favorite, and I've forgotten about it for a long time, but I really love this line from the first Barry the Chopper episode in the first series, where Winry says, "It's one of those new refrigerated trucks." I don't know why, but I really like it.
I'm just like Caitlin, there's so many fun lines that Ed got to say in the series that it would be really difficult to pick one. I was saying yesterday in my panel, there's one where Ed says, and I didn't even remember saying it. Have you guys done this? Where you sometime after you record, you see a show, and you hear your character, and you don't even remember saying that line. You say these really funny lines, and at the time, you did it, you went on, and you forgot about it. Well, there was one funny line where Ed said something about, there's so many people whose asses I have to kick.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to make a list just to keep track of them all.
Yeah, I remember.
I just love him. He's such a little pipsqueak.